Hey, if you're new, welcome to the channel. If you're back, welcome back. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And if you did, thank you. There's some questions here that need some answers. So I am here today to answer these questions. So the first question is, what is your end goal as a competitive bodybuilder? It's pretty simple, I guess. I want to reach my full potential as a competitive bodybuilder, ride that out for, 2 years, and retire. I think the next year and a half, I will be able to reach what I can do with the time I have left to really reach my full peak, full form, physique, the apogee of what my body can reach, the apex of the results I can get, and then refine that for a couple of years and then retire. So it's not really like, placings and things like that. Of course, the higher the placing, the bigger the show you win. It's always part of the goals, right? But bodybuilding for me has always been like a solo journey. Of course, I had like a huge support system, and I couldn't do it without my whole team behind me. But it was never about like placings. It was more about like me versus the task at hand. It's always been about that and try to perfect it and just like reach my full potential. So once I've reached my full potential physically, there is mentally, there is financial, there is spiritually, there is a lot of other aspects that are still pretty much untouched, compared to the level I did my bodybuilding. There's a lot of options afterwards. So I'm not scared to stop competing. Some people's whole identity are revolved around competitive bodybuilding, but I find that I'm much more than that in my head, and in my heart, I guess. Good things are coming, but I'm not done with bodybuilding yet. I gotta reach my full potential, and it's gonna happen soon. Pretty sure about it. Inshallah, if God allows it. Another question, do you still struggle with addiction? If so, what do you do about it? Well, of course I'm struggling with addiction. I mean, I'm not using drugs. The reason that a lot of addicts, including myself, started using drugs is because we didn't like the way our life was and we wanted to do something about it, and we found an easy fix. So sometimes it's like I don't like how I feel. It's also just not being able to handle life as it is and how it's coming to you. When I found drugs, it was like, whoa, wow, this makes sense. Especially when I started doing raves and I found these type of drugs, I was like, whoa. This is what drugs are made for. I get it now. Because I tried a few things before that. It didn't do the thing that it did when I started partying with like people, the raves, music, and all that stuff. And then it evolved from there to something, into harder drugs, and then I just lost control. I mean, control was lost a long time ago, but I really noticed that I lost control, that I couldn't stop when my friend died of an overdose in 2014 on Christmas Eve. He was found dead, OD'd in a shed during the winter. Some random shed from some guy. The guy who went outside his backyard, opened his shed, and there was somebody dead in there. Poor guy, yeah? Poor guy on both ends. Poor my friend, but poor the other guy who just found somebody dead in his shed. It's a terrible story. I can talk about it now because it's been so long and I've processed everything, but I still have the same brain, more or less, as when I was like younger and partying, right? Of course, I've changed a lot of wiring in there, but my base wiring for my brain, I'm hardwired to just destroy myself with drugs. So every day, I gotta keep that in mind and work against that and make sure that I do the right thing with every decision I make and the right thing aligned with my recovery. Recovery means when you're an addict and then you stop using drugs, the program after that to stay off the drugs is called a recovery program. Every day I wake up, even if it's not me writing it down or me saying it out loud, my priority, it's always that, even subconsciously, is to stay clean and stay off the drugs. But sometimes I got good days, and sometimes I got bad days where it's a lot harder for me to just deal with life. My clean date is May 28, 2021. So it's been over a year and a half now that I've been clean and sober. And that was after my 5th rehab. Because when my friend passed away in 2014, It was the first time that's why I realized I lost control actually, because it was the first time I actually tried to stop. I was like, you know what? I'm stopping drugs for good. This is it. My friend died. Party's over. 2 weeks later, it was my first relapse, to say the least. I was like, holy shit. I said to myself, I swore to myself, I would stop. And then 2 weeks later, I made the choice to do it again. I was like, that's interesting. This is weird. That was the beginning of my descent. Because now every time I use, it wasn't just fun anymore. There was a lot of shame and guilt from failing to stay off the drugs. So I kind of had to use even more and distract myself even more from the reality that I was failing myself. So I actually went harder. So if you want to fast forward that to 2014, 15, so it's going to go on 10 years in a couple of years, and been exposed to rehabs and recovery. And I only have like a year and a half and something clean. I had 2 years before, but I relapsed because, if you want to say, what am I doing to stay off the drugs here? The question is that if I stop doing the things I need to do that got me clean, it's like, see it as a race against the devil. You're in your car, the devil's behind you, and if you lay off the gas to just relax a little bit, or even if you want to see it as a race by foot, if you're not putting as much effort into it and you slow down, the devil's fucking sprinting behind you. It's gonna catch up at some point. What I do right now is I'm surrounded, and I am in contact with people in recovery also every day. I do meetings every week, and when I came out of my last rehab, I did 90 meetings in 90 days. By meetings, I mean a 12-step program meeting. And I do NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. It's englobes all mind-altering substances. Because AA was made in the 30s and 40s, because back then the epidemic was alcohol. Alcohol was like killing everybody that was pretty much drinking. It's like the fentanyl crisis today. Back then the equivalent was alcohol. That's why they did the whole ban and stuff, and they tried to do that, and it didn't work. But there was no cure. There was no program for that. So Bill and Bob somehow wrote the big book of AA with the 12 steps and the 12 traditions and all these principles. And with that program, people starting being off the booze. It's a program, it's a spiritual program. There's a CBT stuff in there, but most of all, it's these 12 principles that you try to live every day, combined with the support of the group, because you have strength in numbers, right? So if you go to a meeting, you think you're alone. Like, oh my God, I'm failing this. Like, if you're not exposed to anybody who's succeeding to stay off the drugs, people are using normally, or people are also addicts around you, and you're really killing yourself, and you think, fuck, there's no way out of this. Then you go somewhere, you see a bunch of people who not only has done it, but are happy, and they're doing well, and they're laughing, and having a normal life, and they seem to be at peace, and even to have gratitude to be the way they are. I'm like, holy shit, it's possible. So then you have hope. Yeah, 12-step program, support from the group. Also, another thing that helps is having a higher power, and that can vary from everybody. I even talked to an atheist yesterday, and he actually analyzed his way into thinking that, there's something that you can't explain, the randomness of the world you can't explain, and that was his that's bigger than him. So that was his higher power. He's an atheist, so he was trying to describe God in an analytical way. For me, I don't know what it is. I just know that something's there. I felt it in the past, on and off, and I know that something was like, I know when I'm going in line with the flow, and when I'm not. There's something there. It's called God's will. You know in your heart what's right and what's wrong. And I try to follow that, what's right. Let's recap that. It's pretty easy. The 12-step program, I use that to stay clean. And millions of people have used that to stay clean. The meetings, the group settings, the support. Millions of people are doing that. I'm doing that. The higher power also helping. Another thing that I'm, if you want to get into details about stuff within the program, there's a lot of things that they talk about, suggestions and things of the sort. For example, like people, places, and things are really going to affect the outcome of like what you're gonna do, right? So if you don't want to do drugs, don't go with the people that do drugs. Don't go to the places that people do drugs at. Don't be around the things that are used to do drugs with. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. So things like that, and just being really honest with myself every day, every single day of my life. I know exactly if I start doing drugs, what's gonna happen. I'm an extremist. I even tried like doing things normally, which is why I relapsed 2 years and some change ago, and I fucked everything up. So I just know myself. Even when I'm gonna be 60 years old, I'm still have the same brain. Even when I was 20 years old, I was more reckless back then. But I know that if I just ingest or take that chemical, I'm gonna be the demon again. Because to be honest, it felt fucking great to do all this shit. But it's like, this is why, of course, if it wasn't fun, if it wasn't fucking, I wasn't feeling like a fucking god, I would have not done it, you know? But I just know that if I take it again, the floodgates are open, the beast is unleashed, and it's all hell break loose. Give me 2 weeks, I can fuck everything up. Because I was homeless twice, right? So I know exactly how to get there. It doesn't take too long. You know, like I would get kicked out of where I live and stuff. And it would take a little bit longer now because I have more material and I've acquired more things. But, dude, you can spend a lot of money really fast. And the thing is, I can't really function when I do drugs. So all the sponsors I have, the requirements I have, the posts I got to do, the content I got to create, I wouldn't do that anymore. So how much money how much time am I going to get paid without doing what I need to do? And I got to pay the rent, and the money in my bank all gone. Like won't take long, and then it's how you become homeless. Pretty easy. And you don't realize that you're homeless because you're like couch surfing, going from like one place to the other. You're with one miserable person. You're with a hooker. You're with a criminal there in the car driving around. You sleep on some guy's couch. You do that for weeks and weeks, and you know. And then it's like, you're homeless. You don't have a place that you live at, so you're homeless. And you don't want to go to your mom's or any of your friends because they are still disappointed in you, and you don't want to be around them because it reminds you that you're, not good. So it's like people say, oh yeah, homeless people, it's a choice. It kind of is if it's about addiction, because I don't have the power to say no, but it's still my choice to say yes, I'm gonna do drugs. So it's like I am guilty, but I don't have the power to make the decision by myself. So that's why every time that I would want to stop, I would just check myself into rehab or be forced to go. Like I have lots of stories, but maybe we'll keep those for another video. But I went on and on about that a little bit. I got some other questions here, but we'll keep them for another video. And, it's always good to talk about recovery anyway. The big message in that is that if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time with drugs or any like external thing that make you feel better that you don't have control of, you can do it. You can overcome it. But if you're like me, and you're like, you just can't stop, you need some external help. So this video, and I am a prime example that as crazy as I was pretty fucked up. It's possible to not do drugs and be okay with it, and be able to deal with life how it is, and to live the emotions that you need to live, and be okay with it, and be okay with your past. It takes a little bit of work, but it is possible, because if I did it, you can do it. And I've seen walking miracles, which people, you won't understand, like the things I hear from the rehabs and the meetings, and they're doing well. Like some of the worst cases you can think of came back from the fucking gutter all the way back to a beautiful life. It is possible, but if you're struggling, the thing is, like by yourself, you can try. If you're like me, by yourself, you can try all you want. By yourself, you can't think of a way to do this. Maybe I should do that. But the thing is, addiction is like a thinking problem. So what makes you think that you can outthink your thinking problem with the head that got you in the problem in the first place? All right. So that's why I needed external help and go somewhere with professionals and people also trying to stop. And this is what got me where I am today, where I was able to overcome that. But the thing is, the other advice I can give you, if you really want to stop doing drugs, you gotta be open-minded to the suggestions and the therapy and the program that comes at you. You gotta be willing to do whatever it takes. A real addict will do whatever it takes to get his fix. You need to put the same willingness into getting clean. You're being willing to do whatever it takes to get clean. And then you gotta be honest. Honesty. Open-mindedness, willingness, honesty. Honesty, especially with yourself. You know, what are your motives in your decisions here? Do you really want to stop? Why are you calling this person? Is it to say hi, see what's up, or you really want to get something out of this person? Drugs, whatever. So honesty. And then when you're gonna share and express yourself, honesty also. So on that note, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment below. Show your support. You maybe out yourself out, say you got a problem. And if you do, if you want to hit those meetings I'm talking about, for example, if you live in Washington, D.C., type Washington, D.C., NA or AA meetings. Click, search, boom. There's recovery and people right there ready to help you, and it's free. So think about that. See ya.